The Fall Classic, Will. It's here, buddy. Let's talk about it. First pitch is next. What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 54 of Bringing the Heat. My name's Cody Pite. With me, as always, the four-seam fastball co-host, Will Sism. Guys, you gotta hop on the YouTube because he's rocking the haircut. I mean, if you've listened audio only, this is the time. You go to youtube.com, you put in Bringing the Heat, and then if you're a guy, you feel bad about yourself because you're not going to look as good as he does right now. Buddy, how are you doing?
That's right. This episode's probably going to go viral now due to my haircut.
It's brought to you by Great Clips.
That's right. Shout out to the sponsors. But yeah, we're doing good, man. We have a World Series now.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. And yeah, man, can't wait to talk about it.
It's going to be a lot of fun, dude. I don't think it's what we thought was going to happen.
No.
But, I'm still mulling around. I was talking to Claire. I was like, I don't know who I'm going to predict to even win this thing.
Yeah.
I mean, what is going on? So let's dive in. We're going to pick up where we left off in this LCS because there was so many interesting things that's happened. So we'll hit the ALCS first, and we stopped at Game 5. Remember where we left off, Jose Altuve hit the 3-run bomb, and then, Maldi had some stuff to say about don't wake up Houston. Well, let's see what happens next, Will. It's very interesting when you know how it goes down. Game 6, the series would shift to Houston as the Astros had the opportunity to punch their ticket to the World Series if they can figure out a way to win at home. Framber was tasked with getting that done, and of course he was opposed by Nathan Eovaldi, who's trying to ensure that the Rangers would stay alive. Jordan would get the Astros going early with an RBI single in the bottom of the first. The Rangers would quickly answer in the top half with a Mitch Garver solo shot. Jonah Heim got in on the fun with a 2-run bomb of his own to make it 3-1 Rangers. A Dubon sac fly in the 6th would tighten the score to 1 for Texas, but things would escalate in the 8th as Mitch Garver, there's that guy again, would drive in another run. It's an RBI double this time to make it 4-2. But then in the bottom half, that's when Houston would get their best chance. They got the bases loaded, and who do they turn to, Will? Pitch hit journeyman John Singleton. You know his name. Everybody's heard of this guy. I'm just kidding. He was tasked with keeping the line moving. He had a pretty solid at bat, I'm not going to lie, but he did strike out on a 3-2 high breaking ball, top of the zone there. The Rangers would then put it out of reach in the top of the 9th. After Corey Seager was hit with the bases loaded, that's what drove home the 5th run. Adolis Garcia, he had struck out his 4 previous at-bats. He launched a grand slam. It's got to be the hardest home run I think I've ever seen hit.
Yeah, it was a screamer.
Straight line drive to left field. Ladies and gentlemen, bring your gloves, and you might as well bring them to Game 7 because that's where we're headed. We're knotted at 3. Let's hit Game 7 real quick, Will. Yeah. All hands on deck, baby. Here we go. The Rangers, they picked up where they left off in the top of the 9th the night before because in the top of the 1st, they got 3 runs off of Christian Javier, our third co-host.
Yep.
He got 1 single out. Maybe he just wanted to come talk about the World Series with us. Dude, I don't know. The Astros got 1 back in the bottom of the 1st thanks to an RBI single by Jose Abreu. Adolis Garcia and Alex Bregman would trade solo shots in the 3rd to make it 4-2 Rangers. And then Texas, they pile on, man. And here's how they did it. They scored 4 in the top of the 4th, thanks to Will's future favorite player, Evan Carter's RBI double. Not Evan Phillips, Evan Carter. Yep. And then he got followed by another RBI hit by Adolis Garcia. He'd hit another home run in this game, so he had 2. He went 4 for 5, 2 home runs. Could have had 3 because, remember, in the 1st, he had that home run ball that missed by like 3 feet. And he watched it the whole way, ended up at 1st.
Nice single.
Nice single. That's the opposite of a seeing-eye single. I don't know what that was. But listen, man, hats off to the Rangers. They locked down the 11-4 win. Dude, the rest of this series, what do you got on it? It was nuts.
I tell you what, it was, as I said on the last episode, I firmly thought that after that Game 5, the way Houston won that game, I really thought it was over. I picked Texas before the series started, and when Houston won the way they did in Game 5, I was like, man, there's no way. And I tell you what, though, it was like the perfect it was the perfect storm, though, when you think about it. I mean, the Texas Rangers, when they are right, I think they're the best team in baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, when that lineup, it's almost like it just comes in waves. Like when Adolis Garcia is cooking and Evan Carter, Mitch Garver, Seager, Simeon didn't even do anything in that series, and they still
hasn't all October and hasn't even to.
Like that lineup was just insane those last few games, and hats off to Texas. They just had too much horsepower, it felt like, in those two games versus Houston. And I think the most surprising thing to me was I expected Framber, even though he had a rough kind of really last month or two of the season, I expected him to right the ship a little bit. He was a little bit better in Game 6, but he just still wasn't just vintage Framber. And then Javier, man, he had been Mr. Clutch in the playoffs these past two seasons. And even though it was kind of a limited sample size because they didn't give him much leash, it was just Texas was on the high fastball. You could just tell that was Texas's game plan coming into the game, is to sit on the high fastball, and Seager absolutely annihilated that ball that he hit. Yeah. And it was almost like Texas knew what was coming, and they were ready to go, and I mean the rest is history. They got so far out ahead and kept piling on, and Houston really didn't have a chance.
Yeah, I agree with you. Dude, I was actually coming home from work. Didn't even get a chance to settle in, and it was 3-0 Texas. I wanted to pull up here because in the moment when I was watching, dude, it didn't feel like Houston ever got ahead in the count. Like, I'm not kidding you guys. I want to look because I was looking at it a couple days ago, and I realized the fact that there were not a lot of they were all ball one, ball two counts. And when you're going up against a lineup like this, it's not going to be advantageous for you. I don't know what it was, man, because everything in my mind, as far as pitching wise, pointed to Houston. And for whatever reason, they just did not show up at home. This whole series, guys, the away team, 7-0. I mean,
that's hard to believe.
It's unbelievable. It really is. It really is. So real quick, I got some pitching numbers for you here. So Javier, of course, he got the third of an inning. He threw 23 pitches. Only 12 of those were strikes. Yep. So that's just a dash over 50% there, Will. And then listen to these, man. You have Hunter Brown. He threw 41, 21 of them for strikes. So that's that's one more. And then JP France, who came in, and I want to talk to you about this. Yeah. Because I don't understand, and you texted this to me, and dude, you're spot on. I don't understand why he's coming in the fourth. It baffles me. You're down by 2, and you go JP France. You don't go JV and Presley, who, by the way, didn't see the mound in this game. Right. I don't understand where you go there. I think they go to Urquidy. Even earlier than I'd go to JP, and I know Urquidy didn't look good in the game that he had in this series. And then I texted you this after Evan Carter did his thing, and it was 2 on, and first base was open. It was 6-2. It's not looking great. Adolis comes up, and they pitch to him, and he is red hot. And of course, all he does, single, scores 2, and it's 8-2. And
then it's over.
It really is, dude. There's a lot of time left, and you're looking at Houston, great offense, typically. But dude, you gotta hold them, man. You gotta hold them to 4, gotta hold them to 6. So, any qualms with Dusty there, or was that just a lack of a game plan?
Yeah, I mean, we, like you said, I texted you when it was happening, and I don't want to call this second guessing because right when it happened, I was kind of questioning it. I was like, when it got to 4-2, just in my opinion, I think if you're down 4-2, you got to do whatever you can to stop the bleeding, right? Yep. And you got to hold, in this case, you got to hold Texas at 4 runs for as long as possible. And so for me, I felt like JP France is, even though he's had a decent season, when you look at the available pitchers that Houston had on their roster at that period of time,
Yeah.
JP France, stuff-wise, strikeout-wise, has to be like one or two at the bottom.
Yeah.
And so I just didn't like that move because you know how Texas was rolling at that time.
Yeah.
I would have, I mean, if it was me, I think you have to use at minimum, a high leverage guy like a Hector Neris, a Brian Abreu.
Yep.
You know, if you want to bring in Presley, that's fine. Verlander, you mentioned. I just didn't like how they brought in a guy like France when the lineup is just crushing, and I just felt like it just made it worse. And so that would have really been the only thing that, you know, if I was managing the team, that I would have done a little bit different, just to see if I could, you know, stop the bleeding, I guess. And so yeah, I'm with you there. I did not agree with bringing in France at that time, but man, hats off to Texas. I can't tell you how impressive to me that was, them after Game 5 turning it around and really dominating both Game 6 and 7. That was very impressive.
Yep. I'm with you, man. I'm with you.
Let me ask you this before we move on.
Here we go.
How do you view, fantasy-wise, Framber going into 2024?
Yeah, you texted me this. I think I was at work and didn't answer. It's an unbelievable question. I would say I still like him. I don't think, you know, he was like a top 5 pitcher, because you remember last year he set the quality start record and dude was lights out.
But even this year, though, he went, instead of going like top 5 or top 10, he was like ranked kind of top 15-ish by a lot of people's rankings. So it wasn't like he was ranked crazy high going into this year, even though I think he was undervalued. So I'm just kind of curious where you think he lies going into next year.
I think he'll fall a little bit. So wherever that is with the landscape of pitching, maybe I don't know, like a pretty solid SP2, maybe in the 5th or 6th round. Maybe a little later. But like I said, I think it'll be a steal if he goes that late. I'm still a believer. I know he had a really rough October, and he was, I mean, up and down for the most part this year. Obviously had that no-hitter, and then I think he had like back-to-back starts where he gave up over 5 runs. It was weird. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get when you set him in your lineup.
It was weird. It was almost like after that no-hitter, it was almost like a complete 180 compared to what he was last year. Because you mentioned it. Last year, he set the quality starts record. You could set your lineup, and you knew he was going 6 or 7 innings and getting you about a strikeout per 9 innings. And, you know, after that no-hitter this year, it was like, I have no idea what I'm going to get, which is odd when you watch him pitch. Like, his stuff always looks really, really good, and he's a ground ball pitcher and can still get the strikeouts. And so I just, I don't know. It was a really puzzling end of the season for me, and that was kind of why I wanted to get pick your brain on it, because honestly,
how do you
I don't
feel
know
about
where to put him right now.
Yeah, that's true. I think we got to let the water settle a little bit, man. I think there's going to be guys like, you know, Gabriel Moreno or Jordan Montgomery, who in our minds right now, those are hot buys, and they could go depending on when you draft. I got an email from somebody I was in a league with last year asking me today to join a league for next year, and they were drafting I think this weekend. And it's like, dude, you know, I wonder where these guys are going to go. You know, I bet you're going to see a lot of Rangers, Astros, D-backs, and Phillies going earlier than maybe they should. So, it's a great call, dude. It's, I don't know. I would bet he has a little bit more of a bounce back year. I'll say this: hats off, like you've been saying, to Texas. I think the better team won. And I feel like if Houston would have pulled it out, they might have gotten squashed by whoever they were playing, because the back half of that lineup just went cold.
It really felt to me, and I'm not a Houston fan, I'm just kind of calling it like I saw it. If it wasn't for Yordan Alvarez and Jose Altuve, it was a complete and utter mismatch. Yep.
Yordan was like almost 1.5 in it this series.
He was incredible, man.
I mean, you're talking about carrying. Poor guy's shoulders got to hurt. We'll see him next year. Let's see what they do. Tucker's a free agent, so
Okay, can we say this?
Here we go.
There's a MIA right now. Where is Kyle Tucker at? Where are you at, Kyle Tucker?
Dude, I
know you're gonna want to get paid like $300 or $400 million, and you just totally no-showed this postseason. So, man, dude,
I think there's still gonna be a team, and I hope they're in Boston.
Somebody will pay. He's too talented, but you just can't no-show like that, man. That was awful.
He's a stud. We're going to see what happens. That is Houston's number one priority. I mean, if that dude leaves, that's going to be worse than Verlander because, I mean, you're looking at a 26-year-old superstar. I know we had this conversation, but I think he's lights out. I really do. And, hey, speaking of lights out, let's talk about the other series because it was – I mean, what happened? Let's
shocking.
Pick up, dude, the whole weekend. Beginning of the week. What day is it? I don't know. We're recording on a Wednesday night. This is abnormal. We're just figuring it out right now. So let's talk about D-backs and your Phillies. We pick up where we left off. That was a Game 5. Remember when we were recording, that game was going on. I think it was 2-0 Phils when we got off. So let's just hit the whole thing, Will. Why not? We have a battle. This is Game 5. Tied at 2. Battle of the Zacks 2.0. Zach Wheeler squared off against Zach Gallen. Bryson Stott got the scoring started early, roping a 2-out RBI single off of Gallen in the top of the first. Bryce Harper would later score from third, stealing home as Gabriel Moreno threw to second on a steal attempt from Stott, making the Philly lead 2-0. They would double that lead in the top of the sixth, where the Bash brothers, dude, Harper and Schwarber hit home runs that were like identical. It was. I think they both went over 420 feet. They were absolute bombs. Yes, sir. Nobody on base. A lot of solo shots for the Phillies this October. But yeah, made it 4-0. Playoff Zach Wheeler, as we like to refer. He was gross again, and he strolled through the first 6 innings before giving up a solo shot to the Game 5 hero, or Game 4 hero rather, Alek Thomas. That would be all the offense the D-backs would manage against Wheeler, who finished off the 7th before kicking it to Hoffman, Dominguez, and Strom to finish off the Game 5 win. We are heading to Philly, 2 cracks at getting a dub and going back to the World Series for the Philadelphia Phillies. Didn't go down like we thought it would, Will. I don't know what to say.
No.
Let's talk about it. Okay. Merrill Kelly and Aaron Nola squared up in a must-win game for the D-backs. Arizona got the scoring started in the second off of Nola with back-to-back home runs from Tommy Pham and Lourdes Gurriel. A few batters later, Evan Longoria still doing it at 37. Famed Ray Will Loves, I betcha. He chased home Alek Thomas to make it 3-0. The Phillies would score their lone run in the game in the bottom of the second on a Brandon Marsh RBI single. An RBI triple and single from Ketel Marte in the 5th and 7th inning pushed the lead to 5-1 for Arizona. Kelly got the job done going 5 innings. I don't know if you saw he wanted to stay in that game in Game 6. Yeah, he was walking to the dugout, and Lovullo shook his hands, and people have read his lips. I'm not a good lip reader, but he said, I just threw my 2 best pitches because he struck out Trey Turner and Harper to get out of the inning, and I think he was really feeling locked in. But dude, they kicked to that bullpen. It's been really good. Thomas, Salfrank, Ginkel, Sewald, you'll hear those names again to force a Game 7. And let me tell you about that Game 7. Will, you hanging in there, man? I know this is a lot of me talking.
Yep, go for it.
Here we go, baby. One more time for all the marbles as Phillies Ranger Suarez took on rookie Brandon Pfaadt, or P-Fat as we like to call him, for Arizona. The D-backs got the score. He started early in the top of the first as Christian Walker hit a fielder's choice ground out to chase home Corbin Carroll to make it 1-0. In the bottom of the second, Phil's Alec Bohm would tie it up with a solo shot to left, and a few innings later, Bryson Stott would lace an RBI double to give the Phillies their first lead of the game at 2-1. Arizona would answer immediately in the top of the 5th as rookie of the year to be, Corbin Carroll, hit a C&I single through the middle to score Rivera from second. Corbin would steal second. That was one of 4 stolen bases for the D-backs. They finally got going well in that front. So he stole second, and then Gabby Moreno would bring him home on a bloop single to right to make the lead 3-2 for the D-backs. With the lead, Arizona's bullpen would spring into action as Pfaadt gave way to Mantiply and Thompson, who worked a combined 2 innings scoreless. In the 7th, Arizona would tack on an insurance run via a sac fly from Corbin Carroll. This was off of Alvarez, who threw him like 5 or 6 straight 100-mile-per-hour sinkers.
Yeah,
Kudos
Alvarado.
to him.
Yep.
Yeah, good for him. I said Alvarez, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
Jordan came over. He put on a Phillies uniform, and he was like, I'm going to – dude, he probably could do it. He could probably throw. Yeah, you're right, dude. That's my bad. Kudos to Corbin Carroll for elevating a 100-mile-per-hour sinker to get the run home to make it 4-2. D-backs. This is my favorite part, okay, of the whole read. Here we go. The Phillies' best scoring chance came in the bottom half of the seventh after Claire's favorite D-back, Andrew Salfrank, came in to walk 2 straight batters. He did strike out the first one he saw. Then immediately walked 2 straight batters, putting 2 on with 1 out. Kevin Ginkel came in and got back-to-back flyouts from both Trey Turner and Bryce Harper. He would return in the 8th to strike out the side before giving way to Paul Sewald, who went 1-2-3 in the 9th to clinch a berth in the World Series for the Diamondbacks for the first time since 2001. Dude, what a series. What a comeback. D-backs take 4 of 5 after just, I don't know, man. It was unbelievable. Takeaways. What'd you like?
It was shocking. I just when Philly won Game 5 in Arizona and coming back, home for Game 6 and 7, I didn't think there was any chance that Arizona would win 2 games there.
Yeah.
And by God, they did. And
Unbelievable.
I tell you what, man, they didn't just win. They didn't just squeak by, man. They were the better team in those 2 games. It felt like their whole lineup kind of got hits when they needed to. Corbin Carroll really stepped up, I felt like, in Game 7 when they really needed a guy to kind of take the reins, and credit to him for doing that. Ketel Marte was so good the whole playoffs, but especially the series. He was so good. Man, the guy who's probably impressed me the most was Gabby Moreno, though. Man, that guy, Toronto, man, you are going to regret that trade. I don't care what Lourdes Gurriel does anymore. I mean, he's a good player, but you are going to really miss Mr. Moreno because he was clutch. He's already one of the best defensive catchers in the whole league. But man, he was impressive. And I tell you what, Cody, you mentioned this in our previous episode, saying that Arizona bullpen might be the difference, and I thought Philly's bullpen might have a slight edge, but I was wrong. The back end of that bullpen was nails.
Yeah.
Aside from Sal Frank, but
I can't believe it, man. Why do you go to that guy in the 7th?
No, I'm with you. That's a whole another conversation. But I tell you what, Ryan Thompson, former Ray,
bang.
Sewald in the 9th, and then Ginkel.
Yeah.
Ginkel was that okay. If you're a baseball fan, you go back and watch the 8th inning of Game 7 and how Kevin Ginkel executed pretty much every pitch exactly the way he wanted to against Phillies. I think it was 4, 5, 6 in their lineup. He was unbelievable. Like, I was watching it and I was like, hats off to this guy, because he was truly in the zone. And that 8th inning, if you're a young kid and you want to be a reliever, just watch that on YouTube or wherever you can find it. And, I mean, that's as impressive of an 8th inning under the biggest, brightest lights that you can possibly find. But hats off to Arizona. I gave them basically little to no chance. Yeah. And, man, they were awesome. And they did it without Zach Gallen. That's pretty awesome.
He really, I was going to say, he hasn't really shown up. I love what you said about the Toronto deal, because they don't get here without those guys. There's just no, I mean, they had Carson Kelly, and there's no shots at Carson Kelly, right? Okay, he was kind of a fantasy guy you pick up if you were streaming catchers, and he could get hot and he'd be okay.
Right.
But this deal to get Moreno and Gurriel, I mean, they gave up. Dude, I always blank on his name.
Varsho,
exactly. And dude, He was terrible. He was terrible. And now you got these guys making a name for themselves. I mean, even Gurriel, dude, stealing bases, hitting home runs.
Gurriel's a good player.
He really is solid. And this was a move that was looked at to push the Jays over the top.
Yeah.
And look at where it's got them, dude. That front office, kudos to them, guys, because then you bring in Sewald at the beginning of this. This bullpen wasn't even constructed until like August.
Right.
These guys weren't all together, and they have been absolutely lights out to the point where I think the broadcast said it like 2 or 3 times. Like, it's a race to get to the 6th inning.
Yep.
And Will texted me and said, "Hey, I think this might be like shut down time for the D-backs." And I said, "Well, as long as Sal Frank is still an option to come in, I think the Phillies still have a shot."
Yeah.
But other than that guy, I mean, if they can just get him out of the rotation, and I hate to just keep bashing on this guy, but he walked. This is why though. He walked 7 of the 13 people he faced.
Yeah,
That
you
is
can't do it.
It's a
Can't
real
do
life
that.
stat. And it's in the latter half. It's the latter 3 innings. This guy is getting his shine.
Right.
It's weird. Couple things.
The thing that was most impressive to me though is this is a team. Other than like a guy like Evan Longoria, this is a team that has like basically no postseason experience, and for them to perform the way that they did in that environment, those last 2 games, that was as impressive. Like, it was shocking to me, and man, I couldn't have been more impressed.
We all believed in the bank hype. You know what I mean? Like, no one was going to go to Citizens Bank and take.
Yeah.
That was my biggest reason for thinking, okay, Phillies in 6. Like, if they go back, after losing Game 5, I was like, well, there's no way they're going to. And they did it, dude. They did it. They quieted that crowd. It was awesome. Couple stats here. Phillies in Game 6 and 7, they were held to 3 runs in the last 2 games. What I would think of as like the core 4, I guess JT's not in here, but you got Turner, Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos. Do you see the numbers on this?
I did not, but I know that Turner and Castellanos was really rough.
The 4 of those guys in the last 2 games, 1 for 28.
Ooh.
It's like, what, dude? It's unbelievable. The MVP went to Ketel Marte. He had an unbelievable series, like you were saying, a 387 average, 4 doubles, 1 triple, 3 RBIs, 987 OPS. I want to shout out all the young guns, the D-backs, like you were saying. I mean, Corbin Carroll getting called up, dude. This doesn't happen without his unbelievable. I mean, this is a team that limped in to the playoffs. They got swept by Houston, and they basically made it in because the Cubs couldn't win baseball games.
Correct.
And they just got hot. They
And
just got hot.
Perdomo, like a guy like Perdomo who hits 9th. I swear, it seemed like he was on base like almost every time throughout the series, and just turning that lineup over back to the top of the lineup with a man on, and Perdomo's got some pretty good speed. Like, just the little things that Arizona did throughout the course of this series, it all added up, and hey, they beat a heavily favored Phillies team.
They sure did. Last thing I want to mention, then we'll move on to previewing this World Series. Brandon Pfaadt, dude.
Yeah.
Two big starts in this series. 2 must wins in my opinion, because he pitched in Game 3 down 2-0. And then he pitched in Game 7. Obviously, winner take all. 9.2 innings pitched, 16 Ks, 2 earned runs. Obviously, these guys aren't, right now, for whatever reason, everybody's got their little plan.
Yep.
And these guys aren't really making it past the 4th or the 5th. But for what he needed to do, and knowing that you have that bullpen, he did an incredible job for a rookie who got ripped in Milwaukee in Game 1. And, of course, the Diamondbacks came back and won that game. But pretty impressive by this kid. And we're going to talk about it, but it's weird to think that the Game 3 starters for the World Series could be Matt Scherzer versus Brandon Pfaadt, and we might lean Pfaadt. I don't know, dude. It's going to be wild.
Yeah.
Anything with the Phillies as we kind of put them to bed, and we'll see in 24. First off, 2 things. Did you see Chris Russo, the Mad Dog, say he was going to retire?
Yeah, I did see something about that.
Yeah. So, I haven't heard what's going to happen from that, but something to keep your eye on. And then also, did you see Zach Gallen posted a thing about where Phillies fans can get tickets to the next game, and it had 2024 spring training tickets.
That's funny.
He's going at people, man. I was like, you didn't even pitch that good.
I know. I was gonna say he should have pitched a little bit better to post that, but hey,
no kidding.
It's okay. But no, I mean, as far as the Phillies go, I mean, in my opinion, I don't think they really need to do a whole lot. I mean, that roster is very ready to win.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think the biggest question for them, at least in the offseason, is are they going to re-sign Aaron Nola?
Mind reader. You read my mind.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, their biggest question mark. But I tell you what, Ranger Suarez was really good.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that's he's going to get overlooked because they ended up losing the game. But Ranger Suarez is solid.
Yeah.
Christopher Sanchez had a really under-the-radar, really good year as well. And I think those guys are going to continue to get better.
Yeah.
Also, don't forget Andrew Painter, who was their big-time hyped-up prospect coming into the year.
Mm-hmm.
He was hurt. I think he ended up getting Tommy John, if I'm not mistaken. He should be ready to go probably sometime around, I'm guessing, middle of 2024. So, I mean, the Phillies, they don't have to re-sign Aaron Nola.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that with their window being really, really open right now for a championship, it'd probably be a good idea. But it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But, I mean, other than that roster is so solid. And, I mean, even though the Braves are in the same division and obviously in the National League, man, the Phillies can go toe-to-toe with anybody and feel good about their chances.
Yep. Well, dude, if they didn't prove that this year, one is a fluke, two is I don't know. Is that a saying? Should be.
Yeah, it's a statement.
One is a fluke, two is a truth fact. I don't know, but it's they made it to the playoffs. They squeaked in, and in 22, and they made it all the way to the World Series, and then they came close again today or this year in the wild card. Yeah, dude. Look out for those Phillies. I bet they come back, man.
Yeah.
Moving on. I don't even know what to talk about with these two teams. We have a World Series preview. We have the Diamondbacks. We have the Rangers. A battle of two teams that lost 100-plus games in 2021. You got Torey Lovello, the new kid on the block in the playoffs, going against Bruce Bochy. You got a rotation and a bullpen that are solid versus a lineup that loves to mash. Dude, I can't figure out who to root for.
I tell you what, man. Could you imagine if somebody told you before this season started that, hey, it's going to be Diamondbacks Rangers?
No,
You'd look at somebody and be like, all right, stay off of whatever it is you're taking, And it's just hard to believe. I'm trying to think of an equivalent event, and I honestly can't think of anything. This is probably the most surprising World Series matchup that I can think of, and at least in recent memory.
Yeah. Wait, can I give you claps real quick? Because Will mentioned this last night. I totally forgot about it. Will was on the let me find it real quick. Where we got clapping, we got cheering. Which one do you like?
Either one.
Okay, that's cheering. That's cheering.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's going to be lit.
Yeah, baby, it's going to be lit.
Right.
Let me tell Will, or let me tell you guys, Will was on the Rangers, and I was kind of like, I don't see it.
And if you would like to fact check, it is in one of our early episodes it's in our season preview episode. So
100%.
If you want to fact check it, you can go back and listen to it.
Yep, no doubt, man. It was, dude, a great call. I mean, I don't know. I
had a feeling, here was my thing.
Yeah.
I had a feeling that with a year into the Seager-Semien deal, I thought both of them were going to settle in and have really good seasons, which they did.
Mm-hmm.
I thought with Jacob deGrom that they're going to have, they're going to finally have an ace.
Yeah.
And then I felt decent enough about their bullpen, which kind of was their Achilles heel, and it still is. But I just had a feeling that and I also thought that the Astros were not going to be as dominant.
Yeah.
I thought they were still going to be really good, just not quite to the level that they had been, and I think that ended up proving itself true as well.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that said, I felt like the Rangers were at minimum a playoff team, and so anyways, it ended up playing out.
Really aging well. I mean, what a wonderful call. Let's look at these lineups real quick and kind of. I was worried when we got to Game 5 and it was looking like Phillies Houston. I actually went back and listened to our preview. It was like our second or third episode previewing the World Series. I was like, well, I can't say the same thing again if it's Phillies or Houston. But honestly, it's like the same bunches of guys. I'm like, maybe we just re-upload the episode to see if anybody notices. So this is good. We got some new blood to talk about, I guess. Let's look at this lineup, man. You guys all know the names because they're all-stars. They're heavy hitters. Marcus Semien leading it off, playing second base. Then you got Seager, shortstop. Evan Carter. There's one no one had on their bingo card until about September. Evan Carter, Mr. 3-2 in left. Adolis Garcia in right. Leody Taveras. Also, Jonah Heim bats 6 a lot of the time. Then you go Josh Jung, who's going to be top 3 in AL Rookie of the Year. Nathaniel Lowe batting 7th. I think he was batting 3rd for them last year.
He was.
Mitch Garver at DH, and then Leody, or they've been kind of switching it between Heim and Leody at the 6th and the 9th spot. Dude, that is a monstrous lineup. And then you're looking at, on the other side, you got Corbin Carroll or Marte. Again, if it's a lefty or a righter, they will switch those two. Tommy Pham, he'll face lefties. Christian Walker, Gabriel Moreno, Lourdes Gurriel, Alec Thomas in center. The ageless wonder, Evan Longoria, and Ervaldo Perdomo. Thank you, Will, for teaching me how to say that.
Yep.
At short, dude. I mean, it seems pretty one-sided. What are your thoughts?
It does, but here's the thing. I think the Rangers, outside of the Atlanta Braves, I think the Rangers have the best lineup in all of baseball other than the Braves. So, when you stack up that 1 through 9 against anybody outside of the Braves, it's going to look a little one-sided. And so, obviously, I think the advantage, certainly if you look at the whole lineup, goes to Texas. But here's the deal. Marte for the Diamondbacks, you make a really good argument that he's been the best hitter in the whole playoffs, no matter what side you're looking at. He's been so good. Corbin Carroll showed himself out in Game 7 when they needed it the most. Look for that to potentially continue into the World Series.
Yeah.
Christian Walker hasn't really gotten going. I think in order for Arizona to beat Texas, I think Christian Walker is going to have obviously a much better showing in the World Series than he did in the previous couple of games, at least. But man, I tell you what, man, watching Arizona these last few weeks in the playoffs, it's like they're getting guys. Like, guys are just getting timely hits, and that's what it takes. It doesn't matter who it is. It's just who can step up when guys are on base to take advantage of those moments. And so whether that's Gabby Moreno, who's a budding star right before our very eyes, Perdomo, a guy like Evan Longoria, who's been there before, the only guy who's been there before on that roster. So it'll be really interesting. I would certainly give the edge to Texas as far as the lineup goes, but don't underestimate what Arizona's been doing these past couple of series. Yeah,
I'm with you, dude. If the Diamondbacks play their game, and I know that's kind of a saying that people say in sports, and it's kind of like, well, that's one of those things, like, just doesn't really mean anything. But, dude, I don't know if you saw this. In games 1 through 5, they only stole 1 base. In games 6 and 7, they stole combined 8 bases. Like, if they get on, they need to stay aggressive. And, dude, make Heim work back there. I think he's pretty solid behind the plate. But honestly, with these pizza box bases and our 3 pickover rules, man, it is going to be – I want to see people running. I want to see, embracing the chaos. I think that's their saying. So let's see that. And, dude, I I'm all in on this Corbin Carroll kid, dude, and I know I'm late to the party, I guess, on that, but he is a lot of fun to watch. And sure, he looks like Lord Farquhar from Shrek. Whatever, he's great at baseball and he's fantastic. And so we are gonna look past the awesome hair and just look at dude. The moment never looks too big for that guy, and that's exciting for me to watch. On the Texas side, dude, it just close your eyes and point, I guess. I'm excited to see what Corey Seager does. He's like one of my favorite hitters. I have come to realize he is. I don't know, dude. He makes it look easy. He was how I'd want to hit the ball if I had an ounce of talent like he has. Obviously, is Adolis going to keep doing what he's doing? Real quick, I failed to mention his stats, but you need to hear him because it's unbelievable. He won the MVP after almost he kind of started that fight. Here we go. Well, he got hit by the ball. I don't know. We've already talked about it. Listen to last week's episode. You can hear our opinions. Whatever. Adolis Garcia, MVP. He went. Let's see. Here's the numbers: 10 for 28. That's 387 average. 5 home runs. So he had 10 hits. 5 of them were long balls, 15 RBIs, a 1.23 or 1.293 OPS. If he keeps that up, it's going to be interesting. But let's flip the page to the rotations, and maybe we see the pendulum going a little bit more in the Diamondbacks direction. Will, let's start with the Diamondbacks. Why not? We'll go back see fourthsies. So they only had 3 guys listed. It's the 3 we've been seeing. I don't know who you'd put in a game 4. They went bullpen in game 4 in the NLCS. Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly, Brandon Pfaadt. And then for the Rangers, you're going to get some. I'm not 100% sure who they're going to do game 1 yet. We'll see if it's been updated since I hit record.
I think it'll be Valdi.
That's what I saw, and then I was reading it that it might be Montgomery because technically Game 7 was his throw day. So we'll see. I mean, but the game was on Monday. They'd have time. They can do whatever they want, in my opinion. So it's going to be some combination of 1 or 2 is going to be Jordan Montgomery or Nathan Eovaldi. I tend to side with you. I think it'll probably be Eovaldi. And then Game 3 starter, Max Scherzer might get the ball. And then it's going to be, what do we call him? Andrew Heaney, and Dane Dunning.
I don't know if they're going to do that again. I don't know. That didn't go very well that last go around.
And it hasn't. It has not gone well.
I think Game 4 honestly might be a bullpen game.
Yeah,
for both teams.
It's kind of what it was, in the ALCS as well. Dude, when you're looking at those rotations, and we could throw in pitching staff here as well, just some big name hitters here for the Rangers or bullpens rather, pitching staff. We're talking about it all. Josh Schwarb, am I saying his name right? Spores?
Yes.
Yeah, I
think he's honestly their best reliever.
He's been not bad. He really has looked pretty good, and I'd never heard of him. Yeah, it's pretty dang cool. Chapman, I feel like Chapman is veteran Saul Frank, dude. Like, those guys are left-handed, and they don't know where that ball is going. Yeah. You got Jose Leclerc closing it out. Will Smith, Martin Perez. We haven't seen him very much at all. And then a bunch of kind of, guys we haven't seen. Cody Bradford, he's looked good in spots. Chris Stratton. John Gray, I was kind of like, what happened to John Gray? I guess he's just not a big piece of their plan. And then for the Diamondbacks, dude, the name Thompson, Sal Frank, Ginkel, Miguel Castro, Paul Sewald locking it down, Mantiply. Dude, overall pitching staff, which way do you lean?
I think it's close, but when you factor in the bullpen, I think the edge has to go to Arizona based on what they did in Philadelphia, especially. Especially the back end of the bullpen. Like, when you compare for Arizona, Ryan Thompson, Ginkel, and then Sewald in the 7th, 8th, 9th, or however you want to sequence it, versus Texas is going to throw Spores, and then Chapman, and then most likely Leclerc. I would definitely give the edge to Arizona based on what I've seen recently, at least. But as far as starters go, I almost feel like it's a push. I think, if you factor in the regular season, you might give the edge to Arizona just because Zach Gallen was so good in the regular season. But Zach Gallen's gotten hit pretty hard. And that's the one. I think if you're Arizona or an Arizona fan, I think that's the one big worry you might have going into this series because it feels like everything else is really clicking on all cylinders. You know, the lineup's been good like we've talked about, top to bottom for the most part. We've talked about how good that back end of the bullpen has been, but their ace has not been an ace. And when you're facing a lineup as good as Texas from top to bottom, they are going to need Zach Gallen to be at his best. They can't afford, at least in my opinion, I don't think Arizona can afford to lose the 2 games that Zach Gallen's going to start in this series and expect to win.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say I'm going to give a slight edge to Arizona when we talk about both starters and relievers, but I think it's close because I really like what I've seen out of Jordan Montgomery. I like what I've seen out of Evaldi. Max Scherzer is a massive wild card.
Yeah.
But he could give them 4, 5, 6 really good innings if he's on.
Yeah.
So it's close. It's close. Slight edge to Arizona, though.
Yeah. I think the 2 biggest things, and you said them, what's Arizona getting out of Gallen?
Yep.
And what's Texas going to get out of Scherzer?
Yep.
Gallen, not great, Bob. 2-2 with a 5.24 ERA. But I mean, you know what's in there, dude. He's electric, and if he's clicking, if the moment's not too big for him, he's obviously this is a beast of a lineup. So was Philly, and obviously Philly did what they wanted to with him. So that's very interesting. For me, I was thinking about Max Scherzer today in that Game 3 potential start. He's made 2 starts since being out for, almost 40 days. And those are obviously you can't go to AAA and rehab. So is he going to stretch out a little bit more? Is there a possibility he looks a little bit more comfortable, more sharp in this 3rd start? Because I think typically they do 2 to 3 rehabs and then they go up and let's see what happens.
Right.
Obviously, to have to do that against a team like Houston, and now you're in the World Series, that's pretty tough. But dude, I think, what if Mets fans? Dude, Mets fans have got to be like, what is happening if Texas wins and DeGrom and Scherzer gets rings, right? Because those were like their guys last year. I just popped into my head. Pretty freaking wild. Yeah, dude, I'm with you though. I think I like Arizona. I'm ready to get to predictions. You got anything before we hit predictions? Let's do it, baby. Right now, let me know. What's your pick in game and then MVP?
Oh man, I've gone back and forth on this one. But I tell you what, I like to stick with my guns, and I've been on Texas from the preseason.
It's true.
And I don't think right now is the time to bail. And so I'm going to go Texas in 6. Okay. I think that lineup is going to just prove to be a little bit too much for Arizona. I think this is going to be a fun series. I really do. I think the games are going to be, for the most part, very competitive. Yeah. My only concern about Texas is the same song, second dance. It's the bullpen. Yep. If Arizona can keep every game close, like what I said about Houston in the previous series, like Arizona's going to have a great shot. Yep. If they get to that pin and make Texas make key, crucial, tough outs at the end of the game. But I'm going to go with Texas. I just think the lineup, top to bottom's too good. I think they're going to outscore Arizona in several games. Yeah. There might even be a game or two to where they kind of just run away with it because they just score so many runs and get on a roll. But I'm going to go Texas in 6. But I will say I would not be the least bit shocked if Arizona wins this.
Yep. Who you got MVP?
Yeah, MVP. Golly, man, it's tough to single somebody out in Texas.
It's nuts. It's like a 7-game set. It's not like a full season. So you're like, who's going to have a good 6 games?
Yeah. Jonah Heim.
Heim time.
Hit him with a Heim.
Hit him. Jonah Heim. I like it. A little catcher action for William. Okay. Oh, man. I'm going to say it. Are you ready? Are you sitting down?
Pick Arizona.
Dude,
I think it's a great pick.
I'm doing it. Well, it's 50-50 shot, Will, as of right now. Now, after Friday, that's going to change. But I'm going D-backs.
They are on a roll of all rolls, man.
I'm going D-backs in 7. I get like a 06 Cardinals vibe from these guys. And, why the heck not, dude? Let's just add this guy's trophy case. I'm going to go Corbin Carroll because I honestly think for MVP, he is going to score. He's going to steal. Let's see. How many bases are there on a field? There's 4 bases. He can steal 3 every time he gets on first. He's going to steal 142 bases in this series. It's going to be. I'm just kidding. But seriously, I wouldn't be surprised if we go 7. He'll get 7, maybe more. Dude, in order for them to win, they have to win on the margins, and that's how you do it. Base running, good defense, and that bullpen has to stay clicking. And if Adolis Garcia tries to fight you, I would run away and be like, okay, you go ahead, win this game, and because that's what Houston did. They thought, we're gonna, I don't know, dude. I'm tired at this point, but I'm excited. When we started this episode, I was kind of like, I'm aimless with this series. I don't know who to root for. Mm-hmm. But let's see some. This isn't the series we wanted, but maybe it's the series we needed, huh, Will?
You know what? I do like the fact that it's fresh blood. Other than if my Tampa Bay Rays or the Orioles got in, like I didn't really necessarily have a dog in the fight, but I do like the fact that it's 2 teams that haven't been there before. It feels fresh. So, yeah, I'm kind of excited about it. I want to see how some of these guys perform because not very many have been in this spot before.
Yeah.
And so it'll be really fun to see that. It'll be fun to see the 2 fan bases, how they get into it.
Yeah.
But, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to – and like I said, I think it's going to be a very competitive series. I don't really feel like there's a mismatch here. I do think Texas has a clearly better lineup, but Arizona is arguably the hottest team going. So I think it's going to be an awesome series.
Dude, it's going to be great. I hope it goes long. I can definitely see it going like 4-0 Texas, and they score an average of like 9.5 games or 9.5 runs a game.
Yeah.
And it'd just be crazy. Hey, dude. Before we get out of here, I do want to say one thing. I'm curious to see what Bruce Bochy does, because he's been here. He's done it, dude. All he does is win in World Series. And now I'm second-guessing my choice, and I'm nervous.
Bruce Bochy is a difference maker, man.
He is.
I don't know what he says. I don't know what he does on a day-to-day basis. But every team he goes to, when they get in the postseason, they don't lose.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Do you see Madison Bumgarner texted him Game 6, like, hey, if you need me for Game 7, I'm there. Isn't that cool?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool, dude. That's one talk about a legend, World Series legend. Hey, dude, listen. I should have done it to the top of the show. Maybe we wrap back and edit it, but there's a very special someone who has a birthday tomorrow and on the 29th. Do you want to shout that out real quick?
Yep. Happy birthday to my wife, Ashley.
Woo,
we're not going to talk about the number, but dude, yes, birthday is tomorrow. So happy birthday. Happy
birthday. Happy. Yeah, dude. Oh, it's going to be great. It is going to be great. Congratulations. Man. Dude, that's a perfect way to end 54. I got nothing else.
Yep, let's all enjoy the World Series. It's going to be a good one, and obviously we'll be here to talk about it once it gets wrapped up.
Dude, no
it's
doubt.
Lit.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
Right.
Thanks, Will. Hey, guys, we really appreciate you. Reach out to us on Twitter or X at PTH_Cody or at Will Sism. Guys, we're going to be back to break down everything that happens, and we'll see how the schedule I'm going to try and get this out on Friday. We'll see how our schedules align. We might have like an episode in the middle of the series, and we'll just kind of talk about what happens. Or if it's shorter, we'll come back and we'll talk about it then. And then, dude, off-season starts.
Yep.
Off-season number 2 for Bringing the Heat. That's very exciting. Guys, we love you. But until next time, thanks for listening to episode 54 of Bringing the Heat.